Hello and welcome to this Arbiter Game training. My name is Ronald Sayers. I work with the Ohio High School Athletic Association as the Assistant Director of Membership Services. I'm also your main point of contact for Arbiter Game and any questions related to it. Today, we're going to touch on uploading students as well as tiering for competitive balance purposes within the Arbiter Game software. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, the first thing you'll want to do, for obviously, is log into your Arbiter Game account. This will be your landing page once you select your school. From here, on that top ribbon, you'll want to select the Students tab. This will bring you to a new landing page that will likely list quite a few students for those of you who already have schools, and these are not new accounts. My account that I'm using right now has 0 students, but that will certainly change here in a wee bit as we go ahead and upload students and walk through that process together. In terms of uploading students, you have 2 options. You can either upload one by one or you can upload in mass. Uploading one by one will certainly take a bunch of time. However, if you have one-off students who might transfer in at the or in the middle of the year, then it's certainly helpful to use. In order to do so, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll click New Student. That will take you to a new page that will allow you to fill out information that is pertinent to the student. So there are only 5 things that are absolutely required to create a student: their first name, their last name, their gender, their student ID, and their graduation year. First name, last name, and gender are all pretty straightforward. The drop down menu will give you male, female, and you'd select from there. For student ID, this is something that you'll either create or it is something that is given to you by the school. It certainly depends on how your school operates in terms of keeping track of students. The important thing is that you keep the student ID the same for each student throughout their tenure. So if student A has a student ID of 100 at their freshman year, they should also have a student ID of 100 at the end of their senior year. This will allow Arbiter Game to keep everything in line and not create duplicate students when you're doing this year after year. With graduating year, or graduation year, I should say, that is literally the year in which they will be graduating. So this, you will not put 2019-20, but you will put for a senior 2020, for a junior 2021, for a sophomore 2022, and for a freshman 2023. You will only put those single years. It will not be 2021-2022. It'll only be that latter year that is listed. Scrolling down a little bit, again, you can enter information that is pertinent to the student. And again, it really depends on how much you're using the software for. Some folks will use Final Forms, others will use other types of software that keep track of various other things for their students. It's really up to you. Again, those 5 things: first name, last name, gender, student ID, and graduation year are the only 5 that are required. Now, towards the bottom, another tab that you'll see, or I should say another section that you'll see, is student teams. As you see right now, there are no student teams listed due to the fact that this student has been created. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later on when we get some students uploaded. Now, let's go ahead and talk about uploading students in mass, as that'll be a little bit quicker for most all of us. Clicking the drop down arrow on New Student, you will see 3 options: New Student, which is what we just took a look at, Import Students, and then Import Students Team. So Import Students allows you to enter as many students as you possibly can into the Excel sheet and then upload them to the software. We'll note that the more students you do upload, the slower the software will run due to the fact that you have so much saved within your server, for lack of a better term. Now, when you're on this new page for import students, you will see a couple of things that are different, obviously. First, you'll see the download template. We'll talk about that in a second. You'll see choose file and then upload. So what you'll do is you'll download the template that will appear as such. Student imports, it will download and then you'll open it. It will come up blank at first, aside from row 1. Now, the important thing to note is that you are not to edit anything in that top row. If you were to edit anything in that top row, the software will actually kick an error back out to you and it will not upload those students appropriately. So if you're not using things like email address, birth date, street address, city, state, etc., please keep those blank. Do not put NAs or anything like that. Just keep them blank and leave them alone. Now, you can see that the first five columns are those first five things that we need in order to create a student. Student ID, first name, last name, graduating year, and gender. Now, the first four you'll enter in by hand. The easiest way, for instance, maybe for graduation year especially, is if you have all your freshmen in order, you can go ahead and just type in 2023 and then use the drag down in the right corner here to copy those all the way through. Now, for gender, that is actually going to give you a drop down menu. You'll select from capital F or capital M, obviously female, male. It's important to use that drop down menu due to the fact that, um, again, making any edits that are not supposed to be in there, such as lowercase letter or full words, the software will kick it back out and will not allow you to upload those students appropriately. Let's go ahead and take a look at an Excel sheet that's already been filled out, which I went ahead and took the time to do a little earlier today. So we see we have 6 students here: Martin Crane, Niles Crane, Roz Doyle, Lilith Crane, Daphne Moon, and Fraser Crane. You can see their student IDs are listed to the left there, graduating years, and then male, female. I didn't input any of the other information as, again, it's not pertinent to creating the student. But we do have our 6 here, and it's uploaded appropriately within the Excel sheet. I did go ahead and also create an Excel sheet that is off a little bit. You can see here that Daphne is missing a student ID, and Martin and Fraser are both missing graduation years. So we'll go ahead and upload this file first, just to show you what an error looks like when doing that. So what you'll do is you'll click Choose File. That will bring a pop-up box to you. We'll go ahead and select Student Import B, which is the non-clean file. We'll go ahead and click Upload. It'll take a hot second as it parses through the data, but you can see here where it says students uploaded 6. That means there were 6 data points within that Excel sheet that it attempted to upload. Right underneath that, it says students imported, which is 3. Those are the successful attempts at uploading a student. And then right below that is failed, 3. Obviously, there are 3 that failed for various reasons. And you can see right below this, you can see the 3 students that did fail, or did fail in uploading. And then to the right, you can see what had happened and why that error came across. So you can see with Martin and Fraser, their graduating years were not included. But then you can see with Daphne that her student ID is required. So that'll allow you to go back through the Excel sheet, make those edits, and make sure everything is A-OK with these students. So then you can input 105 here and then their graduating year for those. The great news is what ArbiterGame does very well is that since you already have students in here because 3 were successful, when you re-upload that Excel sheet after making those appropriate edits, Lilith, Niles, and Roz will not re-upload, so you won't have any duplicates. ArbiterGame will recognize those student IDs are already existing within your system, so they will not create another student with the same name, same student ID, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and re-upload the clean file to show you what that looks like and give you some viewpoints on the fact that it's not going to create those duplicate students. So we'll select the clean file here, student import G as it is named. We'll click upload, and then you'll see here at the bottom, it'll still read as 6 as in successful because there were still 6 data points. But you'll see once we go to the students tab and take a look at all of our students we have here, there's only going to be 6 and not 9. So we have Fraser, Lilith, Martin, Niles, Roz, and Daphne. Let's go ahead and click on Fraser just to take a look and see what it looks like when everything is uploaded appropriately. So you can see those 5 data points that are required when creating a student: first name, last name, gender, student ID, and graduation year. Sound like a broken record saying that, but they are important, and it's important to make sure that those things are included when doing this. You can also see down here where students team has populated some data. It'll give you your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year teams. So teams will not roll over from one year to the next. So that's important to note. So for instance, if Fraser is on a freshman football team his freshman year, it will not auto-populate him to a football team sophomore year. You will have to go in and make sure he is added to the team during that sophomore year. The great thing is you're not going to have to go through and change the teams for each and every single one of your maybe 500 students for some of the larger schools. What you can do is go ahead and click on Import Students Teams. This will allow you to do a couple of things. So again, you'll have a template that does download. That will look like this when it is blank. So you'll have those first three identifying pieces of information: first name, last name, student ID, and then school year, team, and tier. Please, again, as before, do not adjust anything in that first row. Adjusting those first rows will cause ArbiterGame to spit the data back out and say that there's an error. You have to go in and fix it. Frankly, have to re-download the template and just copy and paste. But it's still a productivity drain, so try not to edit those top rows. In the school year here, it is going to be a bit different from graduating year. You'll go ahead and click the year that we're in right now. So right now we're in the 2019-20 school year. For here, for team, you'll actually go ahead and use a drop down again. This lists all the teams that are available within ArbiterGame. Please use this drop down as it lists them in the way they're supposed to be written and doesn't allow you to make any types of edits to that. Again, if you input something incorrectly, even just one letter, maybe it's a spelling error, it's going to kick it back out. You're going to have to go back in and edit those things. For tier, it's also going to give you a drop down, and this has to do with competitive balance. We have 4 tiers here at the OHSAA for our competitive balance. You have 0, 1, 1 non-enrolled, and 2. I'm not going to go over how to figure out those tiers, as we do have some folks in the office who are much more versed in that than me. I'll go over their contact information here a little bit shortly. But you will then select their tier from here, and that will do the competitive balance portion for you, which is extremely helpful. Now, let's take a look at our clean version of the student team imports. You can see all 6 of our students are listed here with their student IDs. The school year we're in, 2019-20. Again, those are going to remain the same for each student within this list. And then we list the team that they are on here. So Martin, Niles, and Frazier are all on the boys varsity lacrosse team. And then Roz, Lilith, and Daphne are all here on the girls varsity softball team. Now, again, I went ahead and just put some random tiers there just so those can upload as well. Now, what we'll do, very similar to before, we'll just go ahead and go back to the import student teams page. We'll go ahead and select choose file. And then you'll see here where it uploads our files, or I should say, shows our files that we have downloaded. We'll go ahead and select student team imports. We'll go ahead and click upload, and you'll see that it says 6 students have uploaded, 6 students have been imported. That's not saying that there are new students created, but it's saying that their teams have been changed. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like when the teams are edited completely. You can see here that Frazier now has boys varsity lacrosse under his junior year. Now, the fact that it's his junior year is due to the fact that he graduates in 2021. So he is a junior this year, and since we're in the 1920 school year, it is a junior. So ArbiterGame is able to make that distinction and adjust that completely. Now, if you want to add a single team to Frazier or any other student, you can go in, since it's his junior year, you'll obviously select that, and we'll select, for instance, he's on the boys varsity football team. You can even choose what position he's at, as well as the number in which he's playing with. And you'll go ahead and click save, and you'll see it populate right there. You'll go ahead and click save student then, and everything will update appropriately, and he will be on that team from this point forward. And you can see here on the right side, it actually lists the teams that they are associated with. Now you can see football and lacrosse for Frazier, and then softball for the 3 gals, Roz, Daphne, and Lilith, and then Martin and Niles are both associated with lacrosse as well. Now the second sub-tab on students is competitive balance. Let's go and talk about that a little bit here. This is where you'll actually update any competitive balance pieces one by one. Now, if you go ahead and upload everything through that Excel sheet, they will populate appropriately on this page. We're not seeing it right now due to the fact that our open period for edits has not come about yet. For fall sports, that'll start on October 1 of 2019 and run to November 15 of 2019. We'll go and talk about spring and winter and spring here in a hot second. But this is where you'll make those edits. And again, through that team imports, it allows you to do those en masse, so you don't have to go through and edit them one by one for each student. After you're done making edits, though, you will actually go ahead and change it here, and then you'll click save, and those students will be uploaded. Now, Talking a little bit about competitive balance, over this past summer, we did have a couple of changes to how competitive balance is imported and how it is calculated. Now, for the sports of soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, and softball, there have been changes on who will be rostered. Now, in these sports, in these five sports, you will actually be uploading anybody who is listed on your tournament roster, plus any student who has played in a varsity regular season contest. Now, those students must be entered annually into the rostering system and assigned a specific tier. This is a change from the past when we were having schools upload students in grades 9 through 12, so every single one of their student athletes. This was found to be a little bit unfair by the membership, so they've made this adjustment to where it's just anybody on the tournament roster who is having an effect on those varsity games played and in those tournaments in which the divisions obviously matter. Now, a couple of things to note with these five sports: the tournament roster limits are set at 22 for soccer, baseball, and softball, and then 15 for basketball and volleyball. Now, some schools will have below that number depending on their participation numbers as well as the size of their school. But some schools will also have above that number, and that's due to the fact that they may be rotating players in and out of their tournament roster, and then it'll also include students who were not on the tournament roster but who also did play in a regular season contest at that varsity level. Now, for football, it's a little bit different due to the fact that not everybody makes the tournaments, and so you don't all have tournament rosters. So for football, it's going to be all students in grades 10 through 12 listed on any roster, plus any ninth grade student who played in a varsity regular season contest. Now, those students, specifically meeting those criteria, will have to be entered annually into the rostering system, which is ArbiterGame, and assigned a specific tier. Again, this is the change from having everybody enter grades 9 through 12. Now, the important thing to note, it doesn't matter what team the students in grades 10 through 12 are listed, but they must be listed within the competitive balance and assigned a tier. Only ninth grade students are entered if they played in a varsity regular season contest. Now, in terms of how you determine if they played in a varsity regular season contest, that includes just a single play in a varsity contest. Now, a play that is nullified due to a penalty does not count, but if they get on the field for one play, they are considered to have played in a varsity contest. This is different from the football regulation in determining if the student had played in a quarter. For that specific regulation, 1.52 within the football regulations, it states any player who participates in two or more consecutive downs in one quarter shall be charged with one quarter of play. So again, these are a little bit different. Competitive balance purposes, if they have one play in a varsity contest that is not nullified, they'll be counted as having played in that varsity contest. So do keep that in mind and make sure that you're keeping track of those things. Again, on this competitive balance update, you can see in the top right corner here, it shows how those tiers are determined. I will also say that in the Competitive Balance Resource Center, there are some flow charts on the Resource Center here that will allow you to determine how those students are tiered. If you click on those flow charts, you can see here for public schools, and then there's also one for multi-high school districts as well as private schools as well. So you can see for the multi-high school districts, for public schools, and then you can see for non-public schools in terms of this is your feeder school list, and then you have the flow chart right below that as well. These are good things to print out and good things to have on hand, as this is something that you're going to have to go through for 3 seasons and then again year after year. So, in terms of contact information for these folks, you will want to reach out to Kristen Ronay as well as Bob Goldring. They are competitive balance contact folks in terms of determining those tiers as well as talking about whether or not those students should be included in your roster. You can find their contact information on the Competitive Balance Resource Center, which falls under School Resources right here. Now, in terms of the data entry period for Arbiter, for fall sports, it begins on Tuesday, October the 1st to Friday, November the 15th. and there's only one period for the 1920 school year. This is a change from previous years when we had multiple entry periods, one for your initial and then one or two others for your updates. Again, we're only going to have one at this point, so do keep that in mind. What we absolutely recommend doing is starting your rostering at the beginning of this period, October 1st, or shortly thereafter, second, third, what have you, and then looking at it periodically throughout that rostering period. So, for instance, the way I would certainly do it, again, everybody's different in terms of their scheduling and how busy they are. But I would take a look at it and probably get it done right around October 1st, second, third, and then I would put it away. I just wouldn't look at it until right around October the 20th, 25th, give or take some. That gives me some times to get some fresh eyes and make sure that I can look through it and find any mistakes. Then I'd put it away again until right around a week before, so November 8th, and then take a look at it again, see if there's any edits, updates. And then that way I know I've seen it 3 times with fresh eyes each time. And I can know that the information that is entered there is appropriate and not false by any means. Same thing with winter and spring, only one period. Saturday, February 1st, 2020 to April 1st, 2020 is your winter submission deadlines. And then spring is Friday, May 1st, 2020 to Monday, June 1st, 2020. So do keep that in mind. Again, I am your main point of contact for using ArbiterGame and rostering. And again, Kristen Ronay, Bob Goldring are your contact folks for actual tiering and rostering or determining if they should be on a roster for your competitive balance purposes. So that does wrap up our training on entering students as well as tiering for competitive balance. I would like to direct you to the Arbiter Sports Resource Center, which falls right under School Resources, right here, third tab down. Here we have revamped this page to where you have a little bit more wide range of things that you can take a look at. On the left side here, we have some articles as well as videos that are being put together for ArbiterGame that you can click on. This is a YouTube page in which you can see multiple videos, including this one. And then ArbiterGame training, we do have several things that we can do. We can do a phone call. We can also come to you if you have a larger group that wants to train, and you're always more than welcome to come to us as well if you're in the area. We do have ArbiterGame training sporadically throughout the year, and you'll be informed of those through MyOSHA. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful for you.